Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Thanks so much for watching our last episode. The numbers are still climbing. Folks love to talk about the Bombers going to the playoffs, so you know we're going to talk a lot about the Bombers. Do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, help the channel grow. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us at Ray Benny Sports. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Check us out also on Reddit and Discord. And don't forget to leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
Yeah, we're on the podcast too. If you're on the road or if you're on the way to work and you want to listen on your phone or your people still carry on iPods?
Yeah, some people I think still do. Yeah, why not? If they're still working.
Heck yeah. Well, then put it on your iPod and bring us with you on Spotify or Apple or whatever. Follow us. Hopefully we'll have a good time. Let's move on to the Bomber. Oh, let's move on. No, let's do a little CFL playoff talk first before we get into the Bombers, and we'll talk about Fahrenheit airbrushing. Then remind me if I don't. One word to describe the Eastern semifinal. You go first.
I'm going to go in this one. Entertaining. Like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, they always say defense wins championships, and usually when you see get to the Grey Cup, it does. But in the first round of the playoffs, when you can see 96 points getting scored in a game, that's fantastic. And this game was, and it was close in the first half, tied, right? No, Ottawa was going into halftime with the lead, I believe. Now I can't remember. But anyways, Toronto kind of pulled away in the second half. Ottawa fought back, and then unfortunately those last two pick sixes kind of sealed the game. But it had that close vibe for a bit. Toronto pulled away, Ottawa came back. But yeah, all the likings of an entertaining CFL game that you want to see.
Man, that pick and pitch and run was crazy. I'm going to go confirmation. I think for Argos fans and for CFL fans, the Argos are back. And just in the nick of time. The Argos can win in a shootout. They can win in a defensive battle like they proved against the Bombers a couple of weeks ago when the stakes are high. The Bombers were gunning to lock up first place going into the West Final, and the Argos faced a team that was on an 8-game winning streak, and they made them look, what do the kids call it now? Mid? They made them look mid. I think, to be honest with you, Dinwiddie has been respected. And he should have gotten the nomination for that Eastern Coach of the Year. He kept his team afloat without his starting quarterback for the first 9 games of the year. He lost some free agents. He lost Corey Mace, and he just kept the boat. See what I did there?
Yep.
Afloat. And they kept them competitive. And now they got them rolling at the right time. So, and I probably, they got them rolling late. And that's why Dinwiddie might not have gotten the nod or consideration, but I shouldn't say disrespected. He got overlooked, I think. So I'll go confirmation. One word to describe the West semifinal. I'm going to go with brawl. And Saskatchewan is built to win that type of game, especially with AJ Ouellette finally being healthy. The game was tied at the half, yes? 13-13?
Yep.
So I'll go brawl, and I'd like to also add another word, fitting, in regards to the BC Lions. Don't confuse fitting with deserving. I don't think the Lions deserve to lose, but because of the way their season was handled, I think it's very fitting the way they lost in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with grind because it was one of those games where it was back and forth. There was only basically a touchdown, per team per quarter, almost kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then it was times where Saskatchewan could put this game away, but they couldn't do that in the fourth quarter. And it just kept giving BC kind of that life a little bit. The offense was kind of stalling here and there. But like you say, AJ Ouellette on the ground was tough to stop for BC. BC couldn't get their run game going to help. VA was throwing a lot. And unfortunately, VA forced some things too. The first two, I know the last one, I'll give them a break on that one because you're trying to, come back in the game. But the first two, which the first one led to a touchdown when BC's D was actually stopping Chicago. I don't know where I got Chicago from, stopping Saskatchewan. And then he gave him that pick right at midfield, which kind of flipped the game a little bit and gave Saskatchewan life. They scored and took the lead. And then, yeah, like you say, halftime, BC tied it. But then after that, it was all Saskatchewan. So good, tough game. And it's going to be a good, tough game against the Bombers.
I heard you liked the Bears before.
No, I don't think I ever was a Bears fan.
It's
I don't know why I was thinking about Chicago there at all.
It was a rumor. Let's move on to some Bomber talk brought to you by Fahrenheit Airbrushing. Stand out on the ice, pavement, field, or in the stands with a custom airbrushed helmet, goalie mask, or any type of project. A local Manitoba business with affordable solutions. Check out Ooh, can't talk. My mouth is dry. I'll have a beer in a second. Check out Fahrenheit Airbrushing on Facebook or call them at 204-891-7431.
And don't forget to tell them that Ray and Benny sent you.
What story intrigues you the most with the Bombers and the West Final against Saskatchewan?
I mean, again, it's a prairie matchup. The rivals go at it again. This is the fourth time this season they're doing it. The storyline that intrigues me the most, I guess, after the performance by AJ Ouellette and the talk of how this is what they brought him in for, this type of playoff atmosphere. He's got the experience with Toronto. We're going to see how he does against his Bomber D, and specifically, really, how the Bomber D does against AJ Ouellette, because we know the Bomber D has had issues against the run game so far at times this season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Corey Mace has seen that firsthand, and you know he'll be calling for that from his offense.
Yeah.
Speaking of Corey Mace, I think the story that intrigues me the most is Buck Pierce versus Corey Mace. Buck Pierce has to call a hell of a game. He has to be a chess master and beat Corey Mace, which he hasn't necessarily done in the past few years, since I guess 2022, when Corey Mace was calling the shots on the defense in Toronto. The Bombers have broken 30 points twice against a Corey Mace-led defense, and the last time that happened, the Bombers uncharacteristically gave up 33 points. Personally, I don't think the Bombers will have to break 30 points with the defense that they have, but I will be concerned if everything doesn't go as to plan in Bomberland and the Riders do stop putting up points, because I don't think that benefits the Bombers in any way if it becomes a shootout.
No, and it like you say, Buck Pierce has got to call the right plays and win that chess match, and Zach Claros is going to have to deliver those plays and make sure that he is limiting and really no turnovers in this game, because Saskatchewan will feast on those, and they're looking for them. They're basically the highest team turnover ratio kind of wise with that defense. Those guys are always looking for something. So yeah, Buck's got to call it, but Claros has got to deliver on it.
Plus 26 on the turnover ratio, number 1 in the league. Plus 26. So let's move on to the Western Final. What do the Bombers need to do to beat the Riders? We'll start offense, defense, special teams. Well, as a team, I'll just say, before Banjo Bowl, I was like, yo, they have to ride that crowd and get loud, and the crowd has to be there. But I think this game especially after what's happened the past couple with some iffy calls and some physical play by the Roughriders, who are kind of getting the reputation of being that team that plays on the edge, the Bombers have to be composed. Yes, they're an O'Shea team. They're number 1 in regards to penalties not taken in all 3 phases of the game: defense, offense, special team, penalties. So they got to be composed. They got to be disciplined. Obviously they are, but I just want to say that they have to be.
I agree, because there's been a lot between these two teams going on this season. The big hill hit on Shea Patterson, Strebler getting hurt, the hits on Claros. Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack right there. So they're gonna have to bring it in there and be composed, like you say. That O-line is going to have to play tough and limit that Saskatchewan D-line from getting through.
Yes, sir.
And we watched, like I said, Vernon Adams threw interceptions. He did not need to force those balls. He was out of the pocket. He was running, and he chucked it into a crowded area, and it turned into an interception. Zach Claros is going to have to be smarter than that, and we know he is. Vernon Adams tries to force things a lot. And Zach Claros is pretty good at that kind of stuff. But we've seen him try to do too much, especially in the playoffs, where he hasn't necessarily been at his best over the last couple seasons. So we're going to need a clean game from him, and he's going to have to limit those. And one thing BC couldn't do, which Winnipeg has struggled, is turning those deep drives into touchdowns. Yeah. BC settled for field goals early in the game, missed 2 of them. Winnipeg's got to finish those drives against its tough Saskatchewan D, especially on the ground. So it could be we could need Zach Claros more than we need Oliveira, because Oliveira may find the running tough. But short, quick passes, because that O-line needs to protect Zach Claros.
The Bombers are number 1 at preventing opponents from scoring touchdowns per drive at a 13.2% ratio. The Roughriders are number 3 at 15.6. So that's definitely easier said than done. Part of that is, like you said, they have that line of scrimmage. especially in the offense. They have to establish that. I haven't said this for a few weeks. It's been a while. But, bro, do you know what I want to see? I want to see a lot of what?
Bully ball.
I want to see bully ball. I want to see the heavy set.
Yeah.
I was crying for that at the beginning of the year. I laid my foot off the gas pedal when they started winning. They went on an 8-streak run. They used a bit of it here and there, not as much as they used in the past couple of years, but I think they really need to use this against Saskatchewan. They need to use the heavy set, and they need to use the trip receivers, and they need to put those trip receivers away from Milligan. Take Milligan out of the passing game and run the ball with a heavy line and Oliveira at Milligan. Tire his ass out. Beat his ass down in the rest of Saskatchewan's defense with a big O-line. And you don't necessarily have to force the run with Oliveira. There's a passing option too. Against Adam Auclair, the Canadian linebacker, 9 for 80 in the first game. They let go in the second game where he got 1 for 9. In the Banjo Bowl, 6 for 60. There are plays to be made by Oliveira in the passing game. So I beg Buck Pierce, use Oliveira in the passing game, use the heavy set, and use the trip receivers to your advantage. Find those mismatches because they are there. That's what it is. They got to find those mismatches across the board against Saskatchewan. It's not business as usual. Saskatchewan has a good defense. So they got to play by play, win those one-on-one battles and find where that weakness is.
Yeah, to touch on that Brady Oliveira stat, 48 touches against Saskatchewan this year, like pass, run, 283 yards on that. So that's almost 6 yards per carry or 6 yards per touch. So yes, it doesn't have to be runs, but we got to get that ball into Oliveira's hands. Short, quick passes out of the backfield. That'll definitely help stop the pass rush from Saskatchewan and just let him do his thing. Because you know Saskatchewan's D, yes, they're good, but they're going to be more amped, if not even just because of playoffs, but the fact that Milligan did not get nominated for MOP coming out of the West, right? They thought he should be there. A lot of people from Saskatchewan think he should have, probably should have beat Oliveira for it. So yes, that's going to be another thing that this Saskatchewan D is going to want to prove, that Milligan should have been the guy.
Go ahead. Try to prove that. I think that flows into the Bombers. Bombers got to just beat them up at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
they do.
That's where the game's going to go, man. I mean, and you're going to need it from the Bombers D line against that very stout O line from Saskatchewan as well. And right now, I feel like Saskatchewan probably has the edge on both those D line and O line, the way they've been playing lately. So yeah, so that line of scrimmage is going to need to be won by the Bombers to be able to win this game.
And the thing is, with using Brady Oliveira, especially in the passing game, you're giving yourself good opportunities to lengthen those drives. The Bombers were below 50% in regards to converting second downs. They got to hit 50% if they want to win the game. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying that that's the convention throughout the year. I think only 3 teams, maybe only 2 teams were 50% or above in regard to converting second down. It wasn't the best offensive year for the CFL. But I'm saying in this game, the Bombers have to be hitting 50% conversion rate on those second downs. They got to be prolonging those drives.
Yeah, for sure. And finish them with touchdowns, man. That's the way it's got to be this time. I mean, weather should look good. I mean, it's showing as +9 probably by kickoff.
Yeah.
No rain, no nothing. So yeah, it's going to be a nice night for football. So weather shouldn't have much of an impact. Like in Saskatchewan, BC, that wind was crazy, which obviously affected the kicking game and all that kind of stuff. But looking pretty good weather-wise, so it'll be a fun time.
And the thing is, when you have Milligan looking at Brady Oliveira coming in the flats or in the backfield, that'll open up big plays, especially for big play Kenny Lawler.
Yeah, you'll need to step it up. Dembski too. First playoff game for Ontario Wilson. I know Wolotarski was kind of running around the field a bit, but I doubt he's playing this weekend or anything like that.
And the ill-advised interceptions from Zach Caleros cannot happen.
No. They can't, because like you said, Saskatchewan DBs are going to be looking for that.
Yes,
they're going to be all over that kind of stuff and hoping, a mistake happens from Claus, because they're not going to end up dropping that ball. And the turnover battle, you obviously need to win the turnover battle, but we can't be giving free plays to Saskatchewan and great starting position, field position either.
And I get it. Some of the ill-advised early interceptions were due to an O-line still trying to get together. Some of them were due because of receiver and new receiver combinations and them trying to gel. But a couple of those were underthrows.
Yeah, I mean, look at the O-line, how they fared against Toronto a few weeks ago, right? If there's a bad time to put some film out there for the D-line and Saskatchewan defensive coordinators to look at and kind of see where to attack the Bombers, right? And we
Yeah.
all know Neufeld probably hasn't had the strongest season. So that could be the area that they go after.
Dobson didn't have a good game against Toronto.
That's true. None of them did, really. None of them
So
did.
then, and also then Buck Pierce has got to be more aware and make adjustments earlier. If they got to use that short passing game like they should have earlier against Toronto, they got to make that call and they got to go for it.
Yep.
Don't stay the course if it's not working. Let's move on to defense. What do they got to do on defense to beat the Riders?
Yeah, I mean, you can't give Harris all day to throw because that guy will pick you apart, and we've seen that in games where the 3-man rush against Saskatchewan didn't necessarily work at all, and Harris had time to find his guys, but he did make mistakes. I mean, he threw a few interceptions against the Bombers this year, so you have to if you're gonna do that 3-man pressure, you got to disguise enough to confuse Harris, which is tough. The guy's been around a long time, and when he's got time to look at stuff, it's easier for him to decipher. So yeah, make it confusing back there for him. And really, you got to shut down AJ Ouellette because apparently he's the guy with all the power right now. And again, watching that BC game, tackling, obviously he's like a bowling ball, right? So when AJ Ouellette's running downhill, get that, you need to tackle. And BC on that touchdown run by Ouellette was some piss poor tackling. So yeah, get that done. And the linebackers who have been playing good lately, in place of Big Hill, Kyrie Wilson, who apparently is practicing. So we'll see what happens there. So it'll be a big game, not only for that D-line, who hasn't had a lot of sacks lately. Willie Jefferson hasn't had a sack since Labor Day.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to me, and only 6 this year. So he's got to get in there, and he's got to play his top game. And this D has played well. Just continue to do what they're doing, get some pressure.
They have to definitely be able to execute some man coverage. I'm not saying that has to be their base coverage throughout the game or something that they even lean on, but they have to be able to throw that on Trevor Harris, especially on second and mid, not in regards to mid the way I said it before, second and mid to long in regards to getting that first, where they can't afford to give, like you say, Trevor Harris time to dissect a zone coverage when they're sending only 3 or maybe even 4. I think they do got to be able to press the receivers on the line, and they definitely have to get in the Harris's face.
Yeah, they have to rattle him a bit for sure.
My goodness, because he's a rhythm quarterback. He's not a gunslinger like Dunnigan or even Kahari Jones. He's a dude that really depends on getting into the rhythm. When he can get in a rhythm and a high passing percentage, he's dangerous. So, and I don't even think the defensive line necessarily, yes, I think they hopefully will get some sacks. A handful would be great. But the defensive line also has to create havoc where the linebackers, like you say, Tony Jones, who has been really impressive the past few weeks, just has space to play and make plays. Dude has been a hell of a surprise since he's taken that starting role. Give the man room to work and he'll make some plays in the middle.
Exactly. Do you, if Kyrie Wilson's good to go, do you put him in there? That's a long layoff that he has not played. No. So this is a big game to kind of throw him in.
I would not. Because Brian Cole also is such a good defensive playmaker as well, and he's good in coverage, and they'll need that against Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously dress him, but yeah, you maybe limit his playing time in sense of, especially if it's going well kind of thing. Because, yeah, if you win this game, you're going to need him, and you want him for the Grey Cup. So, but it's tough. He hasn't played in how long? Most of the season, really, right? So
all of the season.
Did he start this season? No, Kyrie Wilson started it. I believe he started.
Didn't he get a major injury last season? He's been on rehab since. I've been wrong about Kyrie Wilson before.
It's been a long season. My memory is not that good going back to May.
Yeah, I should always preface might not be the word to say my opinions by saying I believe as a fan this isn't going to happen.
Oh yeah.
I have no inside sources. I don't know sometimes. Any which way, Devin Adams, Jake Thomas, Schmeckel, and Jamal Woods need to shut down the middle of the line.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're gonna get a heavy, or they're gonna get a heavy feeding of Ouellette and maybe Armstead. And he is a great running back, as we saw him in Ottawa and some of the action he got in Saskatchewan. That guy can make big plays coming out of the backfield. Was it Raekwon Armstead?
Yeah.
So that can be a crazy two-headed running back monster that the Bombers have to deal with. And the Bombers have not necessarily been very good against the run.
No, yeah, they have their terrible moments. And this is where you were talking earlier about the crowd. This is where the crowd is going to come out, obviously be a big factor. And that's where Saskatchewan may lean on Ouellette early in the game to see if he can get this crowd out of this kind of game, right? I know it's not going to be easy, but if say Saskatchewan gets up a couple touchdowns, obviously it puts a bit of a damper on the crowd, who will still be rambunctious. But that's part of their goal for Saskatchewan here, right? Take that crowd out, and you can do that possibly by taking an early lead or anything like that. So that'll be big, and I expect AJ Ouellette early and often in this game.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to quiet down a crowd by keeping the running game going.
Yeah, because the Bombers DBs, I mean, you got Tyrell Ford, sorry, not Trey Ford, back there as well, who's also, what did he end up with, 7 interceptions?
Yes.
Yeah, so you got guys that back there who can pick that ball off. I don't know if Brandon Alexander is going to play. I think he was practicing, but it doesn't look good there either. You got Dietrich Nichols back there. So the Bombers DBs are no slouches either.
No.
Right? And they'll make you pay for a mistake as well. So on the ground may be the way for Saskatchewan to go, at least early in this game.
You talk about coverage in the secondary, but also Reddick Cramdy. He has to have a hell of a game. He's got to deal with Stearns, who put up a touchdown in the semifinal, and he got to deal with Ehlers on that side, who got 9 receptions for over 100 yards, was Harris's favorite target. So he's got to be on his game as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Reddick Cramdy. Oh, he's got to have a huge game. For real. For real. Special teams. They got to stop Janarian Grant. The man is a menace, as we know.
Janarian Grant. Whoa.
Sorry.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I know, hey? I'm like, what am I talking about? What am I talking about here? I went too hard on Toronto on this one. What's his name?
Mario Alford.
Thank you. I think that's up. Mario Alford. The man is a menace.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't really go much deeper into that.
No, and he this year hasn't been his best year, but he's had obviously moments in the past against the Bombers where he's done well. So far this year, the Bombers contained him very good in the 3 games they played him. So continue to do that, right? I mean, for the most part this year, Bombers coverage team has been pretty good compared to last year. Mike Miller's done a great job there. You look at the kickers and the punters, and they're percentage wise and average wise, they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
Castillo's probably just kicked or attempted a few more longer ones, but percentage wise, him and Brendan Lauder are probably the same. So, there's a trade off there. And we've seen obviously Castillo carry this team sometimes. And if this Bomber offense stalls, Castillo is going to need to be ready and keep this offense at least generating some points.
That's the thing. And they depended on him too much on things beyond 45.
Yeah.
That's a big ask almost on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Saskatchewan, like Lauder attempted, I think, the exact same that Castillo did, and Castillo set a record, I think, for attempts this year. I don't know. I'm assuming Castillo obviously went beyond 60, way more than Lauder did, but both of these kickers have been busy this year. And they're both around the 80% mark. So we could end up seeing a bunch of field goals in this game, for at least a start or at something, because these offenses stall. And Saskatchewan did stall a couple times against BC too.
Oh, totally.
So when it seemed like they were moving that ball and about to score, all of a sudden, we're just kicking a field goal.
Yeah, there was a good period of that game where it's like, ugh, this is boring.
Yeah.
It's a slog. But we saw Lucky Whitehead bring a 50-plus yarder back, and they just got to give this guy a crease. And I mentioned this earlier on in the year, that he's just hitting these holes with power and speed.
Yeah.
You ain't going to see no juking and jiving like you would Janarian Grant. If you give this guy a crease, he's going to hit it, and it's either the defenders are ready for them and not. So just give this guy a crease and an opportunity. I think he'll break something. And if he breaks another 50-yarder plus, even better. 54, 57, whatever it was.
Yeah, as long as he's flipping the field, that's all you can really ask for him. I mean, if he breaks one for a touchdown here or on a punt or a kickoff, great. But I mean, if he can flip that field and, average 20 to 30 yards on returns or punt returns, like even in the 20 yard average, I mean, that's great. That's fantastic.
He's north-south now.
Yeah. And he's been getting better over the last few weeks. The first couple weeks that he had done this, or the first few weeks even, I was like, okay, this experiment's got to end because it's not going anywhere. But he's been getting better as it's going. So
yeah, again,
he ain't no Janarian Grant, though. I'll tell you that.
No,
Not at this point in his career.
Speaking of Janarian Grant, bold predictions for the West Final, not the prediction for the game. Anything in the game that you think will happen?
I think Zach Claros is going to go out and probably play his best playoff game that he has played in the last few years. Again, we talked about it. His play has not been very stellar over the Grey Cups, the playoff games, but the team's gotten it done, except for minus the last two Grey Cups. So I think he's going to put in a complete game, turnover free, go over 300 yards, and help this team out and get them to victory.
Whew. Man,
I did my prediction too early there, I guess.
I'd pay to see that. Oh, I did, but I can't go. Son of a gun. Bold prediction for me, at least a sack, at least a pass knockdown, at least an interception. I think the stage is set for Willie Jefferson to have a big game. He loves to play against his old teams. He loves the rivalry and the drama of it, and it's a primetime TV playoff game. I think Willie Jefferson will cook. That's my bold prediction for the West Final. Bomber fans, put your bold predictions in the comments section below. And also smash that subscribe button. Finals predictions. You want to go first with the East?
Yeah, I think the Argos get their redemption this year. Again, like we talked about it, Montreal came in hot last year, knocked off the Argos. I think it's the opposite way around, and I think the Argos will take it.
I agree. Argos take it. 2 scores. I think Kadeem Carey will have a huge game. Again, good beer. Against a Montreal defense that hasn't played a meaningful game in a month, and they are giving up 115 yards rushing per game. So I'm going to go for Toronto in that game. West Final, I'm going to take the Bombers to beat the Riders in a close physical game where the Bombers outlast the Riders. I think they physically reap the benefits of having a week off. As I said, Willie Jefferson is going to go off, and the Bombers win at home. I'll go 17-13. You don't have to give a score. I just put it in there for fun.
You know what? I'm going to go say 17-14 with last second field goal. I feel like, again, same thing. It'll be a close game, and it probably will come down to the last play, and someone is going to be setting out for that field goal victory, and I do think it will be the Bombers as well. And again, factors like you say, being at home and the week off give them a chance to kind of rest their bodies and get ready for this game. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. These games are always tough with Saskatchewan. I don't know how many Saskatchewan fans will be in that crowd, as almost over 30,000 was sold before the games this weekend.
Yeah.
And now it is completely sold out. So we'll see. But yeah, it should be a fun game. And yeah, let's go. Let's get that crowd going and get buzzing.
Make sure you're selling your ticket, Bomber fans, to Bomber fans.
Yeah, if you can't go, no green.
I made sure. I have to work. I'm sorry. Let's a little bit of CFL talk before we move on. Who is the best candidate to fill the Edmonton Elks GM job? You want to go first?
The best wow. I mean, didn't they interview Ed Hervey already? Are we talking about anyone here, or did you mention Canadian?
Anyone.
Okay. I guess probably Ed Hervey then. I would go with Ed Hervey. You bring back someone who's been there and knows the new GM and all that. Yeah, I'd go with Ed Hervey.
Yeah, they played together.
Yeah, and Ed Hervey obviously brought the Elks success lately, right? So
architect of the last Grey Cup.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with another guy who played with them though. Unfortunately, I'll go with Danny McManus. I think a lot of people are leaning towards Ted Govea because of the Canadian content, which I totally get.
Yeah.
But I think Danny Mac has this deep connection in American football somehow, where he's able to keep finding these young American gems. And I think that's a key thing, especially in regards to the salary cap. If you can keep finding young Americans that you get a bargain for, and that gives you cap flexibility to sign those Canadians that you always will have to give a premium for because of the passport. We know that's a thing in the CFL. So I think Danny McManus will be great for them in regards to finding some great talent. And there's a lot of people who can find Canadian talent within Canada. To be honest with you, they have a great Canadian receiver. I get it; they traded for him, but they have possibly a great Canadian quarterback.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're not drafting, but you can see a Canadian talent out there that you trade for. That's the right way to go as well, right? You can't go wrong there if you're getting good talent, especially a receiver with Curly Gittins there. So,
yeah, I don't want Danny Mac to go. I want him to stay. It makes sense. He played Bombers. He came in here and he's, but shoot, just saying. Who comes to mind as a replacement for Randy Ambrosie as CFL Commissioner? Again, it's going to hurt Bomber fans for me to say this, but I'm going to go Wade Miller. That would mean a big dent in the Bombers front office. I get that. But in regards to the health of the league, I think he can definitely benefit Toronto and BC, and he can definitely help Edmonton get back on track with the success he's had in Winnipeg. He's been involved in league governance for quite some time as a board governor that represents the team. He's also a former player and is very knowledgeable on the issues in the CBA labor negotiations. And I don't think he'd be one of those who'd be able to screw the players. He gets it. So I think Wade Miller would be a great choice for the next commissioner.
That's good. That's a good option. I couldn't think of a name to kind of put with what I was thinking, but everything I think I wrote down would fall under line with Wade Miller. It's someone who had a past with the CFL now, or sorry, it said has ties with the CFL now or in the past. Wade Miller has both, right? Someone who sees value in the CFL. Wade Miller does that and sees that it's a Canadian game, and to make sure that you're putting that Canadian part of it first, no matter what. It's still the Canadian Football League, right? You need to focus on that and not lose sight of that. Needs to know how the CFL works, how to run business, which obviously he's done with his own business, now running the Bombers, and an open-minded guy or person, you know? So yeah, so that I didn't have a name, but that kind of falls under the Wade Miller, which, like you say, I wouldn't want to see him leave the Bombers, but if he can help this league and grow this league, then I'm okay with that.
I think he can. Yeah. I think he can. Some people are saying Farhan Lalji. Maybe.
Yeah, but the thing is, the biggest thing would be experience running this thing, running a business, running something of this size, right? I mean, you got a guy like Dwayne Ford, too, that has obviously been around the CFL for a long time and has tried for GM jobs and stuff, but again, does he have the experience running a business like this, or running any business, really?
Yeah.
You need that experience because you need to know the inner workings of all that stuff.
And he values the community connection of it. Like, the more I talk about it, the more I think it's a great idea. But as a Bomber fan, I'd be like, but at the same time, there's confidence in Wade Miller that he's built enough of an infrastructure that if he does leave for some reason, that there's strength and there's a foundation in this club.
Yeah, you would hope after this time that, yes, the strength is there, that if something happened or he left, that it wouldn't all crumble, right? You still would have Kyle Walters around. You still would have Michael Shea. And the front office that's been around together for a long time. So, yeah.
Man.
Hey, whatever helps the CFL grow at this point, find that 10th freaking team. So.
Exactly. It's all about the league. Let's, CFL fans, put your comments below. Who do you think should be the next commissioner, or who are your thoughts on some commissioner names? Let's move on.
Don't forget your predictions either. Let's see those predictions. Even Saskatchewan fans, let's go. Should be a great one.
I hate predictions. I really do. I really do. Let's move on to some NHL Jets talk. Week that was. Thoughts, concerns, Detroit, Columbus, Tampa Bay. Expected wins against Detroit and Columbus, for sure. A bit of an early scare against Tampa Bay, especially with that questionable goalie interference, possibly. Jets go 3-0 since we last met. Cal Connor had a day in Detroit, his home state. 500th NHL career point in 504 games. That's crazy. Hellebuck went 19 for 21. Ehlers got a hat trick in Columbus. Lots of stuff going on. Gabe Velarde heating up. Ehlers lighting lamps. What are your thoughts on last week that went by?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a very good week for the Jets. They just went on the road, scored 12 goals in 2 games, then came back home and added 7 more. And well, not funny, but only 3 power play goals in that stretch, and then 2 empty netters. So a lot of this was at 5-on-5. Which last week I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, the Jets are getting lucky because they're scoring on the power play and stuff like that, and not doing stuff 5-on-5." Well, this week it's a flip, right? And they got the job done. I mean, this team's in first in the NHL, wins wise, points wise, winning percentage, power play is number 1. They got the most goals for, and their goal differential is the best. Like, this team is 11-1 right now, and the only hiccup was a game against Toronto last Monday, where they almost came back and took that game back after being 4-0.
2 bad periods.
Yeah, it's exactly it. And one good thing I've been seeing at this is they've been able to battle back and win some of these games. They were down 2-0 against Pittsburgh, down 2-0 against Tampa Bay, and yes, down 4-0 against Toronto. Unfortunately, that one didn't work in their favor. But to see that they can come back and fight in these games, they're not playing down to their opponents, San Jose, Detroit, Columbus, which we've seen in the past them do constantly, where they struggled to beat San Jose last year and stuff like that. And the defense, man, like, the defense is contributing points wise like crazy. Josh Morrissey with 15, Pionks with 13, Sandberg's already at 3 goals. Colin Miller's got a couple goals. I don't know how this guy didn't get in the lineup last year. But yeah,
we were talking about that last year.
I know. I just got to bring it up every time. But yeah, a fantastic week. Besides, if you want to pick out some concerns, besides the amount of goals they allowed this week, and Hellebuck over his last few games, right? Yeah. You were allowed 6-8 goals over the last 3 games, which compared to the start of the season is a bit of a dip. The PK not as strong, allowing a couple goals in games against Tampa and Columbus, or sorry, Detroit, and then 1 each in Tampa and Columbus. But yeah, other than that, I gotta talk about this goalie interference, because you gotta explain to me how that was not goalie interference.
The guy's stick was lifting his pad.
When the guy just pushes them into the net with his stick, not getting impeded. Geeky ears not getting touched at all. And I don't understand it.
That literally looked like a forklift in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Lifting a pallet up and moving it. It makes no effing sense.
The funny thing is, we like to rag on the CFL, who obviously does not have as much money in their command center, and how bad it is. The NHL's got tons of money, and they're still messing this up.
Replay after replay, and they still can't see this guy lifting the goalie's pad with his stick.
Yeah. Unreal.
I'm just going to emphasize something that you kind of touched on, especially from this Tampa Bay game, was a great thing that you got to see, especially after hearing comments from a couple of years ago, and it's bleeding into last year's playoff series of disappointed and disgusted. There's got to be pushback and pride when things aren't going your way. That was Rick Bowness. And it's good to see at this point, especially with that Tampa Bay game down 0-2, that the team didn't look like that. And they haven't looked like that so far this year. They keep grinding away and seriously staying the course. It's frustrating to watch sometimes when a team is down or not doing well, and you're like, just try something new. But they stay the course. We've seen them flip the line a couple times, maybe twice this year. Some big time changes in the lineup during a game. But the ability to bounce back, especially after the deflating loss in Toronto, where they did have those 2 bad periods, it's not something to take lightly. It's a good thing to see from this team. And 19 goals in those past 3 games ain't bad either.
Yeah, and then, like you say, after that loss, you went into Detroit. You went up 3-0 early and quick on that game, and then Detroit fought back, and it was 3-2.
Yep.
Right, going into the third. So it's like, okay, that could have been a backbreaker, and Detroit could have taken over that game. But the Jets scored quickly and put that game away.
That was a hell of a first period.
Yeah, it was. It was. It's crazy. Like everyone has a goal pretty much on this team that's played besides DeMello and I think Fleury and Barron. I think hasn't scored yet. So everyone else has scored a goal. Even Logan Stanley got one yesterday, against Tampa Bay. So it's crazy to see
He had a
that
good
kind of
game.
depth. Yeah. And guys are stepping up. Like I was worried about the second line. Lemesnikov's at 3 goals already.
Yeah, that's it.
And I don't know obviously if this is going to be sustainable. And we don't know if this D is going to play well in the playoffs. But hey, it's a fantastic start to be at 11-1 after 12 games.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the ride.
Not many complaints. Not many complaints. Let's go to prime performer. I'm going to go with Kyle Connor. 19 points, 12 games, 12 points. Or 12 games, 12 games where he scored at least 1 point. Star of the month in October. Come on. 4 straight multi-point games in October. Now he's getting props from analysts about incorporating a back check in his game. Like, come on. This dude's leveling up his game. He's leveling up the Jets team with his game. So Kyle Connor.
Yeah. It is funny because his defensive game has obviously taken a big step compared to what it was and what everyone was expecting out of this guy, right? So, and maybe this Four Nations Cup coming up has helped elevate these guys a little bit because they want to make sure they make this roster. But yeah, he's been fantastic. I'm going to give it to Nick Ehlers, who, like you said, had a hat trick this week, 4 goals, 2 assists total, and became Denmark's all-time leading scorer with 474 points, which is fantastic for him. And yeah, hopefully he can continue this season going. He's second right now on the team in points, I believe. Like ahead of Scheifele too.
Scheifele. Let's look at the week ahead. Jets fans, put your thoughts in the comment section below. Who is your prime performer from the past week? Let's go into the week ahead. Utah at home, Avs at home, Stars at home. Big picture. What are your thoughts in regards to this?
Yeah, this is a big divisional week coming up against these 3 teams, especially the end of it with Colorado and Dallas coming up. The opportunities there for goals against Colorado and Utah. Colorado has struggled in net, where Gregoriev and Capo Kakinen, who they picked up from the Jets, have not played very well. So the opportunity is there. The PKs for both Utah and Colorado are not very good. So the Jets, whose power play has been number 1, should be able to take advantage of that as well. Obviously, the Colorado power play is very good, so we'll see what happens there. Injuries, Sagan is out for Dallas, and then Colorado's got a ton of them. So I think coming into this week, the Jets, the way the Utah and Colorado have been playing, should be able to handle those. The Jets always have a tougher game against Dallas, and Dallas sits at 2.5 only goals per against. So they will be a tougher team defensively. Penalty kill is pretty good there too. So I feel like the Jets can take 2 out of the 3 here.
I agree. Obviously, the Avs and the Stars are going to be the test here. Central Division rivals. Avs surprisingly down there in the standings. And it's nice to be able to, for the Jets to be able to enjoy a bit of home cooking for a bit of a stretch. And you mentioned this earlier in Jets talk about the Jets playing down to their opponent. That's what I worry about with Utah. They're a bit of a cold streak. They haven't been able to score. Their defense is injured right now. I think they have 2 or 3 big injuries on their defense right now. So far, the Jets, like you said, haven't been victim to playing down to their opponent. But we'll see if they're not looking ahead to the Avalanche and Dallas, which are huge games. And the thing is, in the regular season, the Jets dominated the Avs last year, and look what happened.
Yeah, meant nothing.
So, shoot, I'm not lying. Nope. And Dallas obviously is still a good one. So I think they'll go 2-1 with Jake Oettinger. He's having a great year.
Yeah, like he usually does.
Yeah, I know. I think it'll be like a 2-1 game or something like that, or maybe unfortunately like 2-0 or something like. Because I think Oettinger will steal one at home and break our hearts.
That's a big Saturday with the Jets Dallas first, and then Bombers Saskatchewan after that. Be a lot of people rushing from one to the other. Thank you, NHL.
Not me. Who needs to step up with the Jets?
You know what? It's been an all-around team effort. But I still feel like an IFL did score on the power play. They might, and they're getting a lot of goals. But like we say, it's going to dry up at some point for that first line, second line. So that fourth line needs to start chipping in a few
Yes.
more here and there. And I said the same thing last week, but we need Morgan Barron, who I'm surprised has not scored one yet and had over 10 last year at least, right? So for him to get it going, Hellebuck's going to need to step back and get his game back as well, because these are going to be some tough matches, especially against Colorado offensively and Dallas.
Has Kupari been consistently playing on the fourth line?
Yeah, he's had a better season this year than last year. They even trusted him at the end of the game, putting him on there for faceoffs. So the line has played well. It's just
But
they
if you
haven't been able
want
to
them to
find the net.
score more, he needs to be more effective on the ice offensively. I like how Kupari can put pressure on the puck, but I like to see him on the forecheck hard on that fourth line, create some turnovers and create some time in the offensive zone with the fourth line. But in regards to who I think should step up, it's hard with a team who's playing well. It's hard with a team who's 11-1. But I'll be really picky and I'll go Mark Scheifele's individual defense because we're seeing Kyle Connor's individual defense pick up. So let's go with Mark Scheifele. Let's see if we can put him on the ice against McDavid or Leon Draisaitl with confidence come deep in the year. So I'd like to see that. Team defense, great. No problem.
Yeah.
Let's do some quick hits on the Jets. Did the Jets make a mistake not signing Ehlers long term? Well, based on his play so far this year, yes, of course, but it's a small sample size. It's hard to say. Like, the only report we had in regards to contract negotiations to an extension was this dude David Pagnota from the fourth period, and he said that they weren't interested in signing an extension. So if that really was the case, dudes on NHL Network sometimes, I don't know how dependable that source is, but if that is the case, then what can you do? Then there was no opportunity for an extension. But yeah, I wish they would have, obviously, now.
Yeah, and for the long run, it probably would have been better to get this deal done before the season started. But yeah, Nick Ehlers also wanted to wait and see because I think he wanted to wait and see. He wasn't happy with the way the season ended last year and his usage with bonus, not getting power play one time and all that kind of stuff. So I think he wanted to see how it went with Arneal first, and to see if he was going to get played in different situations, and trusted more out on that ice. And so far, it's worked out for him.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to sign him. They need to get this deal done, unless all of a sudden something happens and he doesn't get a point for the rest of the season, or plays poorly for the rest of the season. Obviously, these guys are going to have slumps. The goals are going in like crazy for these guys this year so far, right? In 12 games. So at some point, some guys are going to have slumps, and the scoring and the points are going to slow down. But yeah, if Ehlers continues on his way this way, the Jets definitely got to look at making a long-term deal with the guy.
They can still negotiate during the season, no?
Oh yeah, they can.
Lots of time. Lots of time. Should we be concerned with attendance?
You know what? I'm not totally concerned with it. I don't like the numbers. Like, there's only just under 13,000 for the Tampa Bay game. The other ones have kind of been around the just under 14,000, and Toronto was a sellout. So it's better than last year. It's not sold out, but there is a lot of factors still going into it. I'm not a huge fan of the Sunday afternoon games. You're going up against NFL football, which a lot of people love to watch, and it's still nice out. So it's hard to give up that day in the afternoon. And they've had one against Tampa Bay. Who else was it? Minnesota, I think, on Sunday afternoon. So those attendance, or that attendance, is not going to be as good as I think a Friday night or Saturday night could be. So as long as the attendance numbers keep to slowly rise this season, and they should when your team's 11-1, I think the Jets will be okay.
I think as Winnipeggers, we have to get used to having attendance issues. Unless that arena is buzzing at 90% every night, there's going to be attendance issues. Like, what can we do? we're going to be also the bottom of the rung when it comes to scheduling. People in Tampa Bay, Florida, do you think like they're not going to give the Jets prime time hockey very often? Like what they were on Amazon, that's their one primetime game so far this year in regards to North American coverage
They had a Sportsnet game yet, haven't they?
for
I mean,
national.
they were on Calgary Saturday night. Went there at 6 o'clock a couple weeks ago.
For national.
No, okay, yeah,
But
yeah,
North American, we're bottom of the rung. We're lucky if we get one. So we're always going to have to deal with that. And I don't think we can totally blame everything on corporate sponsorship. And at the same time, we can't totally blame everything on ticket prices and the market size we're in. In the market size we're in, to be honest with you, we should be selling out that arena. I'm
oh
sorry to
yeah, for
say.
sure, for
We
sure.
should be. I don't think
Yeah,
the prices are totally out of line where the population of Winnipeg can't be supporting this team with at least a 95% filled building. But it's not the case. And I get it because of the economy and what's gone down in the past few years. I get that too.
yeah,
So
it's a good
it'll,
sign that it's going up from last year.
yes.
So hopefully it continues that way. And yeah, hopefully the corporate support does get better. But yeah, if this team continues to win, there's really no reason for people not to fill that place.
And let's be honest here. Like this whole thing about Winnipeg not spending to the cap, that's gotta stop. They gotta stop playing that game. It makes no sense. If they gotta stop making renovations to this arena to ensure that they go all the way to the top of the cap, that they have all the talent that they need to make a push, I'd rather that than crazy LED lights that make the seats look awesome. To be honest with you, I think
Yeah,
we're in a market, we're a blue collar market that they should just go all the way all the time.
and they're always close to the top of the cap. They have no problem spending that money. I mean, they just signed Hellebuck and Shifley for that $8 million. You're gonna
Yes.
have to possibly sign Ehlers here, and Kyle Connor's up in a couple years as well. And the guy is getting 50 this year,
Yes.
so he's not going to be cheap, right? And Josh Morrissey's going to be up at some point. So yeah, they're spending it, and they will make moves at the deadline to kind of make themselves a competitor. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out in the playoffs the last few years that they've made it. So, but yeah, I have no problem with their spending at all, and they're committed to having a winning team here. It's just you want to see a little bit more than that first round playoff round and exit kind of thing.
Oh my goodness. If that happens again this year, oh my goodness. It can't. It can't. Um should we be concerned about Kucherov's well, we should be concerned. What are your thoughts on Kucherov's hit on Kyle Connor?
I don't understand it. I don't know what the need was from Kucherov there at all. Like you're coming in from behind on a guy and then jumping and hitting him high,
Yes.
like, and you're throwing your elbow out. I don't like it. It was not needed at all. Didn't even draw a penalty. Um, so yeah, terrible hit all around. We'll see what happens if there. I doubt there's going to be a suspension, probably just a fine on this thing. But yeah, and then Kyle Connor had to leave the game because of concussion protocol, and luckily, thankfully, he is okay. But yeah, unfortunate or sorry, terrible hit. Not
It was a
unfortunate.
careless hit
Yeah.
and a dick move.
Yeah.
That's about it. Quick shots. Biggest surprise of the NFL season so far? I'm gonna go with the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. Like, did you see this latest clip of the Giants GM? Not only was there a clip of the Mara owner saying, I'd be heartbroken if Saquon Barkley went to Philadelphia. He went there. He's flourishing. But now we see the GM's kid telling him, you should trade up to get Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Oh, just what Washington was doing great is great. Jaden Daniels, MVP candidate, and their defense is playing awesome. So biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, I had them as well. But I'm gonna go with Kansas City being 7-0, just with the way Patrick Mahomes has played. Like he has 9 interceptions, which is eight touchdowns, 9 interceptions, which 9 interception is I think second or third highest in the league.
Yeah.
His yards are down, and I know they're winning games, so his yards necessarily may not be high. But the way the guy is playing is not the way we've seen Patrick Mahomes play. And the fact that the Chiefs are 7-0 while at the same time is kind of surprising to me.
Should the CFL continue the CTV experiment?
Yeah, I believe. Why not? I mean, they brought it in halfway through the season. I know the numbers weren't great or what they were expecting it, but let's see another full season so that people understand and know that there's another option out there and see where it goes.
Yes, absolutely continue it. Even diehards had a hard time figuring out the CFL on CTV schedule. More marketing and better packaging. Have their own brand. Just don't be TSN package broadcast on CTV.
Yeah,
Make it a little more
yeah,
exciting.
exactly. Yeah.
Spend some money. Yuck. Do you think Rick Campbell will keep his job as head coach and general manager? Oh, sorry, co-general manager in BC. We've talked about this many times. It rarely works in football, especially CFL. They have a co-GM. Just give the guy the job or hire G. Roy Simon and give him the reins. Cut this guy out of general manager position job description.
Yeah, I don't think he keeps any job. And I thought he wasn't the general manager at all until I looked today and that he was co-general manager, because I thought maybe the decision to go with Rourke at the time wasn't his and it was out of his hands, but it probably was his. He messed that up. BC messed it up, and BC has played well and had chances to win. They couldn't get it done, and this season was just a disaster. So I could see him definitely going.
Who are you taking as starting goalie for Canada in the Four Nations Cup?
Good God, this list is not good, compared to the goaltenders that we've had in the past, that Canada's had. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm going with Jordan Binnington. I mean, I don't know what other options. Stuart Skinner. I don't know. Binnington's the guy, I guess.
Binnington, solid play, not much in front of him in the Blues. He'd be fine with a stacked Canadian defense.
Just not a very good season so far this year, so he needs to pick it up.
He has no one in front of him. Most disappointing NHL team, Predators. Spent all that money to be old with Stamkos and Marchessault, currently at the bottom. Are they at the bottom of the Central right now?
Yeah.
And the Avs are just above them, eh? So can't say much for those dudes either.
Yeah.
So I'll go Nashville with a little shout out to the Avs.
Yeah, I guess the one thing for the Avs is, I don't know, their goaltending has been terrible, but I guess same thing for the Predators. I had the Predators as well, because like you say, signed Stamkos, signed Marchessault, Brady Skychi on defense. I don't know if I said that right. I probably didn't. And then also re-upping with UC Saros, and right now UC Saros numbers have been pretty bad altogether too. He's at 900 and almost 3 goals against. So yeah, it's not going good. And I had to think about it today because how much I wanted Barry Trotz in charge of the Jets and all that before Bonus and Chevy stuck around. But right now, it's not looking good for Trotz.
Ugh, no, not at all. Was he ever a general manager? And then, like, with Washington, was he general manager?
No, he wouldn't have been with Nashville because of David Pulley, and then with Washington, no, yeah, or the Islanders, really, right? So.
Islanders also a little disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. Patrick Waugh. Yeah, he had he did put his touch on the team last year, and they did play well to end it. But yeah, this year not going good.
Benny, do you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. Go Bombers, go crowd, bring it on Saturday and get Saskatchewan off their game.
Make some noise. Hey, you want my cowbell? It's huge.
I got a cowbell, but yes, yours is probably louder, but
come on.
Hey, if we can meet up somehow, sure, I'll take it.
You have one of those little ching-a-lang-lang-lang ones that are about fist size?
No,
I have one that belongs on a cow's neck.
Well, hey, if you can meet up with me, I'll take it.
Oh, you meet up with me because it's gold. Bomber fans, don't forget, press that subscribe button. Put your comments in the comments section below. And from the famous words of Martina Navratilova, whoever said it's not whether you win or lose that counts, probably lost.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.